You thought I was what? The words exploded across the live stream, and 4 million viewers watched in real time as everything fell apart. But let's rewind, because this story, it started 6 weeks earlier with a DM that should have stayed unread. Kai Chan refreshed his Instagram for the dozenth time that morning, watching his follower count tick upward. 2.3 million now. Not bad for a gaming streamer who'd started in his college dorm 3 years ago, talking to literally 12 viewers about Dark Souls boss strategies. Now he had sponsorships, a proper setup, and enough income to quit his part-time job at his uncle's restaurant. His phone buzzed. Another DM, probably a fan, or he sat up straight. At Elijah Talks. Hey, my team reached out to yours about the podcast collab. Would love to chat about it if you're interested. Elijah Park, the Elijah Park, psychology podcaster, internet darling, the guy who somehow made mental health discussions go viral. His podcast, Let's Talk Real, had 5 million subscribers, and his video essays on masculinity, relationships, and emotional intelligence regularly hit trending. Guy had watched his content. Everyone had. Elisha had this way of breaking down complex emotional stuff into conversations that felt like talking to your smartest friend. He was articulate, funny, and Kai would admit only to himself, really good looking in that clean-cut Korean American way that made brands throw money at him. He typed back, "Yeah, definitely interested. What were you thinking?" The response came fast. At Elijah Talks, a 3-part series. Episode 1 on your channel talking gaming and mental health. Episode 2 on mine diving into masculinity in gaming culture. Episode 3, we do a live event. My team's thinking we could pull serious numbers. Kai's heart raced. This was huge. Elisha's audience was different from his. Older, more diverse, less gaming focused. The crossover could launch him into a different tier entirely. At Kai Plays Games. I'm in. When do we start? Their first video call happened on Wednesday evening. Kai had cleaned his room, positioned his RGB lights for optimal glow, and definitely hadn't changed his shirt 3 times. When Elisha's face filled the screen, Kai's first thought was that cameras didn't do him justice. He had this presence, warm brown eyes, an easy smile, black hair styled in that effortlessly perfect way that probably took 20 minutes. "Kai, man, it's good to finally meet you," Elijah said, and his voice was warmer than it sounded in his videos. "Same, dude. I've been watching your stuff for a while. The video you did on toxic masculinity in online spaces, that was incredible." Elijah's smile widened. "Coming from you, that means a lot. Your content on managing gaming addiction while still enjoying games, I literally sent it to 2 of my friends." They clicked immediately. The planning call that was supposed to last 30 minutes stretched to 2 hours. They talked about content, sure, but also about their lives. Elisha has started his podcast during his psychology PhD program, needing an outlet for ideas that didn't fit academic papers. Kai had turned to streaming during a depressed episode, finding community when he felt most isolated. "That's the thing nobody tells you," Elijah said, leaning closer to this camera. "Creating content about mental health while managing your own shit? It's like being a lifeguard who's also drowning." Kai laughed, but it was the kind of laugh that meant, "I feel that in my bones." As they talked, Kai found himself noticing things. The way Elisha's eyes crinkled when he really laughed, how he'd run his hand through his hair when thinking hard about something, the slight rasp in his voice when he got passionate about a topic. He pushed the thoughts away. Elijah was straight, obviously. The guy had done a whole video about understanding women's perspectives, talked about dating in several episodes. There have been comments shipping him with various female creators. This was a professional collaboration with a straight guy who probably had a girlfriend. Kai knew better than to develop feelings for straight guys. He learned that lesson in high school, then again in college. He built a career being openly queer online, creating a space where LGBTQ gamers felt seen. He wasn't about to fuck that up by catching feelings for a straight podcaster, no matter how easy Elijah was to talk to. But the calls kept happening. Planning the content required coordination. At least that's what they told themselves. But the meetings stretched longer each time, wandering from professional into personal territory. "Okay, real talk," Elijah said, during their 4th call, this time at 11 p.m. because they'd both been working all day. What's your actual comfort level with vulnerability on camera? Because we're going into some deep shit with the series. Kai considered, I've talked about being queer, about depression, about dropping out of college. I guess I'm comfortable with most things, if it feels authentic. Most things? I don't talk about dating. My audience knows I'm gay, but I keep that part private. Too much weird parasocial stuff happens when you share relationship details online. Elijah nodded slowly. That makes sense. I get similar shit, honestly. The comments sexualizing every interaction, people writing fan fiction about you and random people you've talked to once or twice. The fan fiction, Kai groaned. Someone wrote 100,000 words slow burn about me and this other streamer I literally just played Valorant twice. Only 100,000? Rookie numbers, Elijah grinned. Someone wrote a full alternate universe saga about me running a coffee shop and falling in love with a regular customer. They gave me 3 different love interests and a tragic backstory involving a dead dog. They collapsed into laughter that kind of left them breathless and aching. But seriously, Elijah said when they recovered, the relationship stuff gets invasive fast. I had to stop mentioning anyone I dated because people would find them online, dissect our social media, create these whole narratives. Are you seeing anyone now? Kai asked, trying to sound casual. Nah, too busy. Also, Elijah paused, seeming to choose words carefully. Still figuring some things out, I guess. Something in his tone made Kai's heart skip, but he dismissed it. Probably just meant figuring out career stuff or what kind of person he wanted to date. Straight guy things. Week 3 brought script revisions and a realization Kai tried hard to ignore. He looked forward to their calls more than anything else in his schedule. Elijah had this way of really listening, not just waiting for his turn to talk, but actually engaging with what Kai said. He'd remember details from previous conversations, like how Kai mentioned missing his mom's cooking, then sent him a recipe she might like, or how he had noticed Kai rubbing his shoulder during a call and suggested stretches for gaming-related tension. You notice a lot, Kai observed during one of their late-night planning sessions. Occupational hazard, psychology training plus podcasting. I'm basically always analyzing subtext. Does it bother you? No, it's nice. Feeling seen. Something shifted in Elijah's expression, softer, more vulnerable. Yeah, I get that. The moment stretched between them, heavy with something Kai couldn't name, or wouldn't name, because naming him meant acknowledging the way his pulse quakened during their calls, how he'd started styling his hair more carefully before they talked, the disappointment he felt when they had to end. This was bad. This was the kind of bad that ended with heartbreak and awkwardness that could tank their collaboration. But then Elijah would smile or laugh at one of his jokes or share something personal, and Kai would fall a little further despite every warning his brain screamed. I need advice, Kai told his best friend Marcus during their weekly gaming session. Let me guess, the podcaster. Am I that obvious? Marcus's avatar teabagged an enemy in Hollow. Dude, you have mentioned him like 40 times in the past 3 weeks. You changed your entire streaming schedule around his calls, and also you smiled at your phone yesterday, and it was deeply concerning. Kai groaned. He's straight. You know that for sure? I mean, yeah, he's never said anything otherwise. Talks about dating women. There's no indication. Has he explicitly said, I am heterosexual? People don't say it like that. Exactly. They assume people will assume. Look, I'm not saying get your hopes up, but maybe don't write it off completely. Some people take time to figure shit out. Some people present one way professionally because it feels safer. And some people are just straight and I'm setting myself up to get hurt.
Fair. Just be careful, okay? I've seen you get attached before. Kai wanted to argue that this was different, that he was being careful, that he absolutely wasn't imagining what it might be like to kiss Elijah during one of those moments when they just stared at each other through their screens. But he'd never been a good liar. The first video was filmed in week 4, shot separately and edited together. The response was immediate and massive. Comments flooded in. This collab is everything. The chemistry? Hello? 2 of my favorite creators together, I'm not okay. The way they look at each other, Kai Kai tried not to read into the shipping comments. People shipped everyone with everyone online. It didn't mean anything. But then he got to the next planning call and Elijah said, "Did you see people are writing fan fiction about us now?" With this look Kai couldn't quite parse. Yeah, hazards of collaboration. Does it weird you out? Should it? Elijah shrugged, but there was something careful in the gesture. I don't know. I guess it depends on a lot of things. The conversation moved on, but the moment lingered in Kai's mind. There had been something there, a question beneath the question. Or maybe he was reading into everything now, seeing hope where there was just professional friendliness. Week 5 brought the second video and more late night calls. They stopped pretending these were all necessary for planning. Sometimes they just talk, screens glowing in dark rooms, sharing the kind of thoughts that felt too vulnerable for daylight. "Can I ask you something personal?" Elijah said one night, voice quiet. "Sure. When did you know that you were gay?" Kai's heart hammered. I think I always kind of knew, but I admitted it to myself at 16, came out at 17. "Why?" "Just curious. Your content about it is always so confident, like you've never doubted yourself." "Oh, I've doubted plenty. Being confident online takes practice. Lots of faking it until you feel it." He paused. "Can I ask why you're asking?" Elijah was quiet for long enough that I thought he might not answer. Then, "I think I've spent a lot of my life not asking myself certain questions. Easier to focus on school, then career, then building the podcast, but lately, I've been wondering if I've been avoiding things instead of just being busy." Kai's mouth dried. "What kind of things?" "The kind that might change how people see me, how I see myself." The words hung between them, enormous and terrifying and full of possibility. "For what it's worth," Kai said tearfully, "I think questioning things is brave. Whatever you figure out, that's valid." Elijah smiled, but it was shaky. "Thanks. Thanks." They didn't talk more about it that night, but something had cracked open. A door Kai hadn't been sure existed. The live event was scheduled for the final Saturday of their collaboration, a joint stream on both their channels, Q&A with their combined audiences, the big finale to their series. The week before, they had one final planning call. "Nervous?" Elijah asked. "Terrified," Kai admitted. "Good terrified, though." "Same. This feels big, not just for the content." "No?" Elijah's eyes met his through the screen. "Kai, I need to tell you something before we do this live." Here it comes, Kai thought. The letdown. "I've noticed you might have feelings and I don't want things to be awkward" conversation. "Okay," he managed. "I've been figuring stuff out about myself. And a lot of that figuring out happened because of you." Kai's brain short-circuited. What?" "I think I've known for a while that I'm not straight. Maybe always known, but buried it under 1,000 layers of expectations and assumptions. The way I was raised, the modern minority thing, the career I built on being this particular type of relatable." Elijah's voice shook lightly. "But talking to you, seeing how you live authentically, the way you make space for all yourself online, it made me realize I've been performing straightness without even deciding to." "Elijah, I'm bisexual or queer, still figuring out labels, but I'm not straight and I haven't been honest about that publicly and I have feelings for you, real ones, the kind that made me look forward to our calls more than anything else, the kind that made me realize I've been attracted to men my whole life, but never let myself acknowledge that." Kai couldn't breathe, couldn't think, could only stare at the screen where Elijah looked vulnerable and terrified and hopeful. "Say something," Elijah whispered. "I have feelings for you too," Kai blurted. "Have for weeks. I thought you were straight and I was being an idiot and..." "You're serious? This is real?" "So fucking real." They stared at each other, grinning like idiots, and Kai wanted nothing more than to reach through the screen. "We should meet in person before the live stream." "Yeah, we should."
They met 2 days before the stream at Kai's apartment because he had the better setup and also because the thought of being in the same room as Elijah in a public place felt overwhelming. When Kai opened the door and saw him standing there, real, solid, here, his breath caught. "Hi," Elijah said, and his voice was exactly the same but also completely different because it was happening in the same air Kai was breathing. "Hi." They stood there for a beat too long, and then Elijah stepped inside and pulled Kai into a hug that felt like coming home. He was warm and smelled like cedar and something clean, and when they separated, their faces were inches apart. "Can I kiss you?" Elijah asked. Kai answered by closing the distance. The kiss was soft at first, tentative, both of them learning this new language. Then Elijah's hand came up to cup Kai's jaw, and the kiss deepened, grew hungry. Weeks of tension and want poured into it. All the words they'd said and hadn't said melting into touch. When they broke apart, breathless, Elijah pressed his head to Kai. "I want to do that since our third call." "Only the third? I'm a slow learner." Kai laughed and kissed him again, softer this time. "We should talk about the live stream, what you want to share." "I know," but Elijah didn't move away. "I want to come out during the stream. I've been hiding and I'm tired of it." "That's huge, your whole brand." "My whole brand is about authenticity and emotional honesty. Kind of hypocritical to preach that while hiding who I am." He pulled back to look at Kai properly. "But about us, do we tell them about us?" Kai considered it. "That's your call. Coming out is one thing. Coming out and revealing a new relationship at the same time is a lot. But I want people to know. Want them to know you're part of why I found this courage." "Then we'll tell them. Together." The night before the stream, they stayed up late in Kai's apartment, talking to every anxiety and possibility. Around midnight, conversation drifted into comfortable silence. They were on the couch, Elijah's head on Kai's shoulder, and the intimacy of it felt both brand new and ancient. "Stay tonight," Kai said quietly. Elijah lifted his head. "Yeah? If you want. I want." They moved to the bedroom with the kind of inevitability, shedding clothes between kisses. Kai had imagined this, of course he had, but the reality was different. Better. Elijah's hands were gentle but sure, mapping Kai's body like something precious. "Tell me what you like," Elijah murmured against his neck. "This, you, everything you're doing." They took their time, learning each other. Elijah was attentive, checking in, responding to every sound Kai made. When Elijah settled between his legs, the eye contact almost undid Kai completely. The vulnerability of being seen, being wanted. "You're so beautiful," Elijah breathed, and Kai pulled him up into a kiss that tasted like gratitude and desire. The sex was tender and awkward and perfect, two people figuring out how their bodies fit together. Elijah moved with careful intensity and Kai wrapped himself around him, holding tight as pleasure built between them. Afterward, they lay tangled together, sweaty and satisfied and grinning. "That was," Elijah started. "Yeah. I've never done that before. With a guy." "Really? Could have fooled me." Elijah ducked his head, almost shy. "Watched a lot of educational videos." Kai burst out laughing. "You researched?" "I'm a grad student. Research is what I do." "Nerd." "You say that like it's a bad thing." Kai kissed him, slow and sweet. "It's my favorite thing." They fell asleep like that, wrapped around each other, and for one night, everything was simple. The live stream started at 7 p.m. Pacific, prime time for both their audiences. They tested everything twice. Audio, video, backup systems, mod teams prep for the chat. What they hadn't prepped for was the sheer number of people who showed up. 4 million viewers. 4 fucking million. Watching them sit side by side in Kai's streaming room, looking at each other with barely contained nerves. "Holy shit," Kai muttered, watching the count climb. "We got this," Elijah said, though his knee was bouncing. They started with banter, easy conversation, questions from chat. The rhythm they developed over weeks of calls translated well to live streaming. Comments flooded in about their chemistry, their energy, how good they were together. 40 minutes in, during lulling questions, Elijah took a breath. So, there's something I want to talk about. And his voice carried that careful steadiness Kai recognized from their late night calls. The chat exploded with speculation. I've built my platform on authenticity and honest conversation, and there's something I haven't been honest about, not publicly. He glanced at Kai, who nodded encouragement. I'm queer, bisexual specifically, and I've known for a long time, but I've let people assume I was straight because it felt safer, easier, less complicated for my brand. The chat went absolutely feral. What? OMG, OMG, OMG. I knew it. We've been new. Holy shit, this is huge. But there were other comments too, already rolling in. This feels like queer baiting. So all those videos about understanding women were fake? Why is he doing them now with Kai right there? I'm not doing this for attention or relevance, Elijah continued, and Kai could hear the shake in his voice now. I'm doing this because I'm tired of hiding, because I want to be fully myself publicly, and, he looked at Kai again, because I've developed real feelings for someone and I don't want to hide that either. The chat somehow got more chaotic. Kai felt his heart hammering. This was it, the moment everything became real and public and permanent. Kai and I are together, Elijah said. This collaboration became something more, something real. And I know that's going to weird some people out, that it might seem convenient or planned, but I promise you it wasn't. We didn't plan any of this. We really didn't, Kai added, finding his voice. I thought he was straight, spent weeks trying not to catch feelings. How'd that work out? Someone asked in chat. Terribly, Kai admitted. And Elijah laughed, some tension breaking. But the chat was splitting now. Supportive messages mixed with accusations. This is manipulative. Did you start the collab knowing this would happen? Feels like we were lied to. I feel betrayed. Kai watched Elijah's face fall as he read the negative comments. Watched the vulnerability turn to hurt. Hey, Kai said, turning to him, forgetting the cameras for a moment. Look at me, not the chat. Elijah met his eyes. We knew this would be hard. Knew some people would react badly. But we're doing this because it's real. Because it matters. I know. Elijah's voice cracked. I thought I was ready. The chat was still going wild, opinions flying in every direction. Support and condemnation, excitement and anger, all happening simultaneously. Then, a super chat came through, large enough to trigger a notification sound. The message was from someone with a rainbow flag avatar. As a queer person who found your content when I was closeted, thank you for this. It matters. You matter. Then another. My straight friend group didn't get it, but your content helped me explain. Now you're helping me again by showing it's never too late. More supportive messages started flooding him, drowning out the negative. This is brave as fuck. The way you two look at each other, I'm sobbing. Everyone talking about queer baiting clearly doesn't understand how scary coming out is. Representation matters. Elijah was reading them now, tears treading at the corners of his eyes. This is overwhelming, he said honestly. Good overwhelming and scary overwhelming all at once. Welcome to being publicly queer, Guy said gently. It's a lot. They answered more questions, talked about their relationship timeline, addressed concerns about the collaboration's authenticity. Some people remained skeptical, but gradually the tide seemed to shift toward support. An hour in, a question came through that made them both pause. Are you scared about how this changes your career? Terrified, Elijah admitted. I don't know how this affects sponsorships, partnerships, the trajectory I've been building. I'm potentially throwing away security and stability. So why do it? The chat asked. Elijah looked at Kai for a long moment. Because hiding was killing me slowly. Because I want to wake up every day and be fully myself. Because... His voice softened. Because I'm in love with this man, and I don't want to hide that. The chat exploded again, but Kai barely noticed. His entire focus was on Elijah, on those words, I'm in love with you.
I love you too, Kai said, and
Fuck the cameras, fuck the 4 million people watching. He kissed him. It was brief, chaste by any standard, but the chat lost his collective mind. When they separated, both were grinning, shaky, and overwhelmed and electric with the enormity of what they'd just done. Well, Kai said to the camera, guess we're doing this. Guess we are, Elijah agreed. They finished the stream another hour later, exhausted and wrung out. When they finally ended the broadcast, Kai collapsed back in his chair. Holy fuck! Holy fuck, Elijah echoed. Then they were laughing, slightly hysterical, the adrenaline crash hitting hard. Did we just... Yup. 4 million people. Yup. Oh my god. Kai reached over and laced her fingers together. Hey, we did it. It's done. Elijah squeezed his hand. It's done. And I don't regret it. Even with the scary comments and the uncertainty and all of it, I don't regret it. Good. Neither do I. They sat there for a while, just breathing, processing. Outside, the world was the same as it had been 3 hours ago. But for them, everything has shifted. What happens now? Elijah asked. Now, we deal with whatever comes, together. Kai pulled them closer. The brands might freak out. Some audience members will leave. It'll be messy and complicated and sometimes really hard. But you'll be doing it as yourself. Fully yourself. That has to count for something. Elijah kissed him, slow and deep, pouring everything into it. Gratitude and fear and love and hope. It counts for everything, he murmured against Kai's lips. The aftermath was exactly as messy as they predicted. Some sponsors dropped Elijah immediately, others reached out for support. His podcast actually gained subscribers, though the demographics shifted. Fewer straight women seeking dating advice, more LGBTQ plus listeners looking for representation. Kai's audience embraced them, largely unsurprised. The fan fiction writers had a field day. Someone made a compilation of every time they looked at each other like that from their first 2 videos, and it went viral. There were think pieces, commentary videos, both positive and negative reactions from other creators. The discourse was exhausting. But through it all, they had each other. 3 months after the stream, they were back on camera together, this time for Elijah's podcast. So, Elijah said, looking more relaxed than I had ever seen him on camera, we wanted to address some things, talk about the experience of coming out publicly in the age of social media. It's been intense, Kai admitted. Good and bad, the support has been incredible, but the scrutiny is real. Every interaction gets analyzed. People feel entitled to our relationship details. We've had to learn boundaries fast. What we share, what stays private, it's a constant negotiation. Any regrets? Someone asked in the chat. They looked at each other, and Kai saw its own answer reflected in Elijah's eyes. None, Elijah said firmly. This is the most authentic I've ever been, the most free I've ever felt. That's worth the complications. Plus, Kai added with a grin, the boyfriend's pretty great. Just pretty great? Okay, fine. Exceptional. Best decision I ever made falling for you. You say that like you had a choice. Fair point. The chat filled with hearts and supportive messages, and for a moment, everything felt right. Later that night, alone in Kai's apartment, which had become their apartment somewhere along the way, they lay tangled together in bed. Do you ever think about that first DM? Kai asked. How different things could have been? All the time. If I hadn't reached out, if we hadn't clicked, if I'd stayed closeted. Elijah shook his head. Sliding doors, different realities. I like this reality. Yeah? Yeah. Even with the mess, even with the complications, this is the one where I get you. Elijah kissed him, soft and lingering. I love you. In case I haven't said it enough today. You've said it like 6 times. Not enough. They fell asleep like that, wrapped together, safe in the knowledge that whatever came next, they'd face it together. Because the mistaken identity, the assumption that started everything, had led them here, to truth, to each other, to a life lived fully, authentically, publicly, and that they both agreed was worth every bit of chaos that came with it.
Appreciate you watching. Hit subscribe, like, and share. See you in the next story.